Greetings and welcome back to the Sly Raccoon commentary with me, Solidus-Skully. Now, this is pretty much where we're going to be getting into the gameplay mechanics. I know there was a tutorial section earlier that basically did my job for me, but because I'm the commentator and not Bentley... Oh, excuse me, Sly, you gotta inform them about the... Yeah, Bentley, that's my job. If you ever take my fucking job, Bentley, I will smash your skull into that... banister thing. I don't even know where the hell I was going with this. Anyway, violent tendencies aside, this is a hub world for the first area. And this is the way in which I think the later Sly games would actually expand upon in quite a large degree, wherein a lot of the hub worlds in that game would be basically the entire Precipice Sphere levels. But for those of you who haven't played the original Sly Cooper and have played, well, the latter three games in the series, I keep on forgetting that there's a Sly 4 out there. But anyway, yeah, major difference in the sequels, this one actually has individual levels. And as we have here with High Class Heist, this pretty much gets you to brass tacks with what you're going to be doing. And to be perfectly honest though, this is a setup I honestly kind of prefer, at least comparatively to the other games in the series. Because I kind of feel like the later games tried to go for this sort of Grand Theft Auto sort of, oh yeah, we have a hub world, let's do things in the hub world. Except, for me it doesn't really work because the hub worlds themselves, while some are a little bit more interesting than others, I don't know, there's just something about it which doesn't really lend it to the sandbox sort of feel that I think they were trying to go for, you know, in an attempt to ape Grand Theft Auto. But at the same time, it lacks a lot of the uniquity that you're about to see with the levels that we have to play throughout the game, and especially in this case, you know, I feel like this is really what, you know, kind of makes Sly Raccoon, I should say, the game that it is, and why it's my favourite in the series. Well, I mean, it's not the entire reason, but that's something I'll get into. Ouch! Fuck. Well, that's something that I'll get into later in the game. Because, I mean, you can see here, you're issued, you know, a bunch of different challenges, whether it be sneaking or platforming, and... Ugh, God, that was embarrassing. Lost both my lucky charms. And that's another thing I should probably get into, health-wise. Yeah, as I mentioned in part 1, Sly is pretty much a one-hit wonder. Basically meaning that, again, if he gets hit once, he dies. But again, much in the same way as a Crash Bandicoot or whatever, you can have additional hit points by collecting Lucky Charms. Collecting 1 will get you a Silver Lucky Charm, which means you can take an extra hit. You get a Gold Lucky Charm if you collect 2. And there's no third power-up form, because, I don't know, I guess, being the Solid Snake of the platformer trio that he is, Sly is basically just left with nothing. Whereas any other platformer hero with their soul would probably turn invincible, ravage the area for a little bit, and then cool down, because being powered up is hard. Yeah, but in any case, as far as I mean, this isn't really a first level, I'd say the first hub world level. Yeah, this is a pretty good level, I'd say, to really get you used to the platforming and everything else. I mean, it is very basic platforming, but, you know, as early levels go, this would pretty much get you to brass tacks and going, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a master thief. I'm really good, I swear, guys. I'm Sly Cooper. Why am I giving that effeminate voice? Well, there is a bit of a reason. Why I'm doing it, but I'll reveal that a little bit later because there was a surprising bit of trivia that I learned about Sly Cooper's development, which did quite surprise me actually. But in any case, you can also see that a lot of the clue bottles will also be hidden behind little vaults of their own. These ones you can actually smash open, unlike the earlier vault. But yeah, vaults, actually there is another thing I do want to mention before I, you know, start cutting away to collecting the clue bottles and everything, because I don't get all of them on my first go round. I'm going to be letting all the clips where you get the power-ups play, because, you know, while it is very poignant that Sly gets a power-up, I just want you to listen to some of these, and then remember it in the context of Sly Cooper is meant to be a master thief. The key word being thief. But anyway, I'll let you see that when you get to it. But yeah, as far as the hazards that you have to look out for, searchlights will probably be your biggest bane. Searchlights will shoot down an instant death laser, which, as Bentley mentioned earlier, will give you acute combustion. I can't do a good Bentley voice for the life of me, but yeah, security lasers are a bit of an issue, though I think those are pretty easily dodged. But to me, the searchlights, especially in some areas like this, they tend to be a little bit faint. Excuse me. And because of that, you can't really see them as easily on some surfaces, which I feel maybe they should have outlined a little bit although I guess that probably might have been a bit too obvious, but then again, I mean, Sly Cooper is ostensibly, you know, a kiddie's first stealth game, so I mean, I guess I'm not really expecting Splinter Cell here, but at least a nice middle ground between Crash Bandicoot meets Solid Snake. Holy hell, what a crossover that would be. But in any case, because we still have a couple of clue bottles left to go, we will not conclude the level just here, and so we shall jump cut off towards a thing, because I forgot to add in the Optimus Prime transition that I'm, well, not really so famous for, but something that I enjoy adding in for a bit of spice. Or if I get distracted by things in real life, whatever comes first. Oh, by the way, take a drink every time you hear Bittenly say, press the circle to enter the vault code. Like, I mean, he says that all throughout the game, and that's not going to change. Even throughout the later segments of the game, he'll still say, press the circle to enter the vault code. Anyway, bada bing, you do the thing, and we get our second upgrade. Oh!
Interesting. Old Sally Cooper's fast getaway Raccoon roll. Stories claim she can move faster rolling than anyone else could on the run. Hold down the triangle button to use this move. Switch between your power-ups using L2 and R2.
You see, now that power-up right there isn't exactly something that's too out of the ordinary, but I can assure you the later ones are quite strange. And yeah, cut to the end of the level. Oh yeah, posing because it was cool, I guess. But in any case, that's an example of a level in Sly Cooper. There are 6, at least I think there are 6 or 5 in total, and these will pretty much serve as what you're going to be doing throughout the game. It's all working towards a goal and taking down the boss of the area, which is a member of the Fiendish Five, and in this case it's Sir Raleigh the Frog.
Sly, see that machine wheel? If my knowledge of mechanical engineering serves me right, applying significant rotational torque to achieve maximum velocity will yield a positive result.
You mean something good might happen if I can get the wheel to spin fast enough?
Isn't that what I just said?
See, that's one of the things I love about the Sly series, is the nice amount of synergy between characters. I mean, you don't necessarily see it so much with Murray and anybody else in this game, but, well, again, that's probably because you haven't really seen him that much, but he will appear later on, but, again, the camaraderie between the Cooper gang, I think, is honestly one of the most endearing parts of the series, and it's honestly why I don't entirely turn on Sly 2 and 3. Like, I mean, I have my issues with them, but I don't consider them bad games, so, I mean, if I do end up, you know, bitching about them throughout this commentary, don't take it to mean that I hate the games or that I think you suck for liking them, because, you know, they're fine games. It's just that Sly Raccoon has a lot of elements about it which I just kind of prefer, if I'm honest. Again, just wanted to get this little disclaimer out, but then again, we'll see how things go on. But anyway, it is time for the second level, which is Fire Down Below. And this also kind of highlights why I think that, you know, Sly Raccoon has a better level setup than what Sly 2 and 3 had. It's mostly because of the fact that, you know, you have a chance to see a bunch of different locales, whereas if this was Sly 2 or 3, for example, this would just have to be the interior of a small building and nothing more. Which, admittedly, you could argue is a little bit more realistic, but at the same time, though, I think Sly 1 just lends itself to a greater degree of variety in the levels themselves, and while remaining within the general theme of, you know, whatever whole world you're in. Like, I mean, you have fire here, even though Sir Raleigh is pretty much an aquatic-based creature. He's a machinist, therefore you can have some different aesthetics because of his machinery and also because of the aquatic feel. Which I guess is part of the reason why I think Sucker Punch probably decided to not set the entire level underwater. I don't know. That's just speculation on my part, though. Also, something to be of note, be on the lookout for clue bottles, because you can quite easily miss some in this level. Another interesting tidbit to mention is also about the guards, which have... Again, you won't really get it. You won't really get to know about it until you get a certain power-up later in the game, but, yeah, these guards actually have names. You know, that you have the Walrus guards, and then you have one of the Squid guards known as HP Squidcraft. And you can actually use the binoculum to examine facts about them throughout the game as well. I'll probably... Actually, yeah, I might point them out as we go on in the parts. Probably not necessarily for this part in particular, but definitely for the next part of the hub world. Say hub world, but I mean the next area. Whatever. You know what I mean. And this also goes to show the functionality of Sly's cane, which I definitely think makes him a little bit more distinct compared to your typical mascot platformer. Like, he's not just some, you know, rip-off Crash Bandicoot, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger sort of character. He's got a cane which, you know, he can use to swing off things, he can smack things around, he can... Again, it sounds more superfluous than it really is, but honestly, when you can see the stuff that Sly does in-game with it, especially in the sequels as well, actually, I don't know, it's an identifying feature and one that I think really does allow Sly a lot more versatility compared to the average platformer. Like, again, you wouldn't see Crash Bandicoot smacking down those pillars of fire, I'll say that much. As far as the level itself is concerned, though, my video was slowing down. Oh wait, that's just because I can't really hear because I have headphones on. Silly me, carry on. Let's see. Well, there's not really too much else to say about the level outside of its general difficulty, but now it is time for some boss trivia, and I can't roll my eyes for the life of me. Although all the trivia that I have is pretty much relevant, except for this tidbit that Sir Raleigh the Frog actually has the highest body count in the Sly series. And that is actually surprising. Well, at first I was surprised, but then I remembered that, you know, because of the fact that, you know, a lot of the people in the Sly universe revolve around thieving, yeah, Sir Raleigh is quite mad. Like, given the fact that what he's doing here is sinking ships and plundering them for treasure, that does imply that he's killing the crew members in and of itself, not to mention the fact that he does this on a whim. It also makes him the only character in this game, well, in this game and I guess a few other games in the series specifically, who isn't given a sympathetic backstory, which you'll come to see as we come to, you know, see some of the other boss fights. The obvious exception here being with the final boss of the game, but then again, that's kind of to be expected. So yeah, Sir Raleigh is the villain who's evil just because, which in any other case I would honestly say is a little bit weak. But given that Sir Raleigh was established to be complacent with his rich lifestyle, you know, I can see that. Rich people are fucked up. You know, they're mansion people, they're rich, and I'm gonna smack them all down. I hope over the shotgun will do them in nicely. Anyway, I've waffled on long enough for the level to be complete. But unfortunately, because of the fact that we pretty much have to travel to the beginning of the level, which is kind of impossible at this point, it is time to start teleporting. And there we go. We press the circle to enter the vault code.
I'm unbeatable. No code can stand
Oh, by the way, I'm tempted to leave these in as well, because Bentley starts to progressively suck his own dick the more these goes on. What the hell does that even mean?
These are the blueprints of Raleigh's entire operation. I wonder... Yes! I can wire this info directly into your binocucom. It'll show you the position of nearby clues and breakable objects.
Oh yeah, that was another thing I forgot to mention. Because of the fact that not every page you get is a page of the Thievius Raccoonus, you'll also be clued into specific plans of Raleigh's, of the different areas in the game. What this basically means is that it'll give you the locations of breakable objects and also where to find clues. So this is something that can help tremendously if you're missing a couple of clues and need to go back through the levels to find them. Just switch on with your binocucom and you'll find the clues no problem. It's just a bit of guesswork, really. And honestly, it's a feature that I'm really glad was implemented into the game, because there are some levels in the game where these clues can get pretty bloody obscure. Like, I can find them now with relative ease, but for the first-time player, and especially my first time looking for them in the early 2000s, yeah, I was renting this game for quite a number of weeks just to get all the clues and, you know, basically just to unlock everything. I suppose, with the lack of anything else to talk about, I suppose I could probably go over my history with the Sly series. Yeah, this game was something that I actually didn't really connect with, Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, because, early 2000s, yeah, I was pretty much all Ratchet and Clank around that point. Well, Jak and Daxter a little bit later, but Sly Cooper was definitely one of the series that I always saw around, and I knew about it immediately because I had the box with you know, Ratchet and Clank 1, and it had the coming soon, Sly Raccoon in 2003. So on a whim, I picked up the game because I heard somewhere off like a vague internet forum way back when that, you know, it was pretty much the big three of, you know, Sony's consoles at the time. Oh Jesus, that was a while back. And yeah, from there, I pretty much picked up the Sly Raccoon series. I rented it on the PS2 first off, and then I got the HD collection, which I was initially going to play for this, but I actually encountered a couple of glitches which sort of deterred me from that. Also, another reason, which is to do with a certain boss fight that I'll talk about when we get to it. And, yeah, while I wouldn't really say I fell in love with this series as such, but I did have a really good time with it, and there was a lot more depth to it than I initially gave it credit for, which is something that, well, both Sly Raccoon and Jak and Daxter kind of broke me out of, because one of the reasons why I didn't initially go for Jak and Daxter was because I kind of judged the book by its cover on that one, because I didn't like the fantasy look of, you know, Jak 1 compared to the, at the time, you know, when you're 9 years old, more harder edge look of Ratchet and Clank. But again, you know, that's just me. I grew up in the 2000s, man, where, you know, the sort of stuff that I was interested in, and I guess that hasn't really changed, to be honest. Well, the sort of stuff I'm interested in is stuff that's more extreme, dude! Totally radical, do-do-do-do! Except in that more, you know, angsty sort of stuff, which again, a lot of people make fun of, but I love completely and wholly because it's extreme. You gotta have the heavy metal music, dun 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 dun. You know, I don't know. This is also a rather boring level. It's basically there to introduce you to the gimmick of what's basically the Sly Raccoon equivalent of Solid Snake's cardboard box. Stay inside that barrel and you'll be safe from searchlights if you stay still, and you'll be protected from arrows, which actually, now that I think about it, makes it a lot better than the cardboard box, because Sly's actually protected. Yeah, so the score is... Actually, the score is pretty much in Solid Snake's favour, but, you know, Sly Cooper can sneak past him in a barrel, I guess. It actually kind of reminds me that, of the ending to... Fuck, what was it again? I think it was Metal Gear Solid 3 with the Raiden mini-movie thing, whatever. You know, when he was escaping and time-traveling through to different parts of history. Whatever, I'm getting off topic. This level is pretty much the library. I'm not necessarily sure what this is doing for Sir Raleigh's operations or how we're really... I mean, I did say that the main objective is to find treasure keys, but I guess something we could also probably credit the sequels to is that they had a much better thematic tie-in to the plot. Because in later Sly games, you know, one thing I can give to their credit is that it has the feeling of you're building up to the big heist. Whereas in Sly 1, it sets itself up more like a typical platform of, you know, collecting keys, Lucky Charms and all that sort of stuff. Whereas the later games are, I wouldn't say necessarily more plot-driven, but they tie the gameplay and story in together a little bit better. But at the same time, though, I think Sly 1 does that well enough to not really do that whole thing. And again, I'm usually the first person who's, you know, all in there for, you know, better gameplay to story integration. But my issue isn't necessarily that with the Sly sequels, it's more to do with a few other extraneous elements that detract from the experience. But again, I'll get to that sort of point later when there's something less interesting to be talking about. And that being said though, I guess while I'm on the subject, in terms of hub worlds, or at the very least in terms of worlds that I find enjoyable in this game overall, I do enjoy Sir Raleigh's hub world. I think it's a very cruisy, get you used to the game sort of hub world feel. But at the same time though, some of its locales aren't quite that interesting. Then again though, you could do worse, and honestly, all I'm really asking for is that, you know, you at least give me something interesting to play. And I think Sly Raccoon does that well enough for me, so yeah. Sir Raleigh's hub world gets a pass from me. As for hub worlds that I don't like, well, you'll see as we go on. But honestly, I do enjoy a majority of the worlds, especially hub worlds 2 and 4. They are bloody brilliant, and again, I'll get to that later. Yeah, I really wish there was something more to talk about, but again, it's just an extended sequence. Although, then again, I suppose this is this level which you can probably put the Binocucom finding the clues secret that Bentley dug up earlier to the best of uses, because there are some hidden bookcases somewhere. I wouldn't say it's quite as cryptic as the fire down below, but, you know, it can surprise you. I gotta say though, Actually, no, I don't really have anything to say. I suppose I could probably go up to some more Sly trivia. Which is actually more to do with how the save feature was handled before. Again, you might see here that there were holographic markers, which was something that Bentley deployed, although you'd have to wonder how the hell Bentley even put them there in the first place, considering that it's very deep in enemy territory. Could Bentley secretly be working for Sir Raleigh and the Fiendish Five? Well, that's something that Sly Games would never actually follow on, because that would be bullshit! And not something that any Sly sequel, except for terrible ones we don't mention, would ever do with Cooper Gang members close to the hearts of the main trio. No siree. But yeah, what was initially going to be in place of the holographic markers was actually this raccoon lady who would take your photo and just sneak back into a treasure box. Who that character is, I will actually tell you at a later time, but now we are nearly finished and I have waffled on for long enough. Now, I want you to take a look at this power-up we're about to get just here from the Thievius Raccoonus, because this raises up certain questions about Sly's lineage.
Outstanding! Another page from the Thievius Raccoonus! This one features Dev Cooperinda's slow-motion jumps. He used this to get by all kinds of airborne threats. Hit the triangle button while in the air to slow down time.
Yeah, slowing down time. Sorry, I don't really remember thieving people having that sort of ability. But you want to know what the funny thing is? This isn't the end of it. It actually gets even wackier than this. But again, that's something you're going to have to find out what's going on for next time. What other powers will Sly have? How will we defeat Sir Raleigh's plans? Will Murray ever take a shower? Find out next time on Sly Raccoon. I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and I will see you next time in the Sly Raccoon commentary. Bye-bye.